Alcatraz, Weather Rock, earned a reputation as the most isolated and escape-proof prison on the planet. In all of history, 36 inmates tried to escape, but none of them succeeded. However, this was not the case, as in June 1962, these three men did. And this is their story. The Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary, or known simply as the Rock, was a maximum security federal prison on Alcatraz Island, located about 2 kilometers off the coast of San Francisco, California. The main prison building was built in 1910 as a United States Army military prison. The island became adapted and used as a prison in August 1934 after the buildings were modernized and security increased. Due to the island's location in the cold waters and strong currents of San Francisco Bay, prison operators believed Alcatraz to be escape-proof and America's strongest prison. In all of the Rock history, a total of 36 inmates tried to escape, but none of them survived or succeeded. However, this was not the case on June 11, 1962. 3 inmates, Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin, attempted to escape using careful planning. They got out of the Rock by jumping into the infamously cold waters of the San Francisco Bay. They were never seen again, and no one knew what happened until the police got a mysterious letter in January 2018. And this is their story. All started at Atlanta Penitentiary, where Frank Morris, Anglin brothers, Allen West had spent time together. It was possible that they already knew each other even before they met up at the Rock. Frank Lee Morris, born on September 1, 1926, in Washington, D.C. His parents abandoned him when he was 11 and spent the rest of his childhood in foster homes, an orphan. He was convicted of his first criminal offense at 13. He had been arrested for crimes ranging from narcotics possession, car theft, and armed robbery. Morris reportedly ranked in the top 2% of the general population in intelligence, as measured by IQ testing of 133. He served time in Florida and Georgia, then escaped from the Louisiana State Penitentiary while serving 10 years for bank robbery. He was recaptured a year later and sent to Alcatraz on January 20, 1960, as inmate number AZ-1441. John William, born on May 2, 1930, and his younger brother Clarence, born on May 11, 1931. They lived into a family of 13 children in Donaldsonville, Georgia. Their parents, George Robert Anglin and Rachel Van Miller Anglin, were seasonal farm workers. Clarence and John were reportedly inseparable as youngsters. Both of them were skilled swimmers. Clarence's criminal activities started when he was just 14 years old. He was first caught breaking into a service station. The brothers began robbing bank and other establishments as a team in the early 1950s. In 1958, John and Clarence Anglin robbed the Columbia Savings Bank in Columbia, Alabama. They received 35-year sentences, which they served at Florida State Prison, Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary, and then Atlanta Penitentiary. At the Atlanta facility, John and Clarence repeatedly attempted to escape, and later the brothers were transferred to Alcatraz. John arrived on October 24, 1960 as inmate AZ-1476, and Clarence on January 10, 1961, as inmate number AZ-1485. Allen West was born on March 25, 1929 in New York City. West was arrested over 20 times throughout his lifetime. He was imprisoned for car theft in 1955, first at Atlanta Penitentiary, then at Florida State Prison. After an escape attempt from the Florida facility, he was transferred to Alcatraz in 1957 at the age of 28 and became inmate number AZ-1335. The 4 members of the team lucked out by having adjoining cells in Alcatraz, which helped make planning easier. On top of being a prison, Alcatraz was also a factory. The inmates made furniture, shoes, and clothes for the U.S. military back then. This is the reason the 4 had access to a number of materials needed for their escape plan. Little by little, they started to set the plan into motion. They knew the prison guards were instructed to shoot on sight any inmate trying to escape. The escape was a high risk, but they had a brilliant plan. They did not only to find a way to leave the island and reach the mainland, but also sufficient time before the guard noticed. Making the props, or dummies in their cells, was the right choice. These dummies were made off from toilet paper, toothpaste, soap wax, and real human hair from the barbershop in the prison. The Anglin brothers were in charge of making these dummies, and Frank Morris was in charge of building an accordion-like instrument that could inflate a raft and life vests. The team worked together over the subsequent 6 months. Every single day, they worked from 5:30 p.m. until 9 p.m. They widened the ventilation ducts beneath their sinks using wrenches and metal spoon obtained from dining hall. They chipped away at their cells to make holes that they could fit through, using discarded saw blades found on the prison grounds and an electric drill improvised from the motor of a vacuum cleaner. The men concealed their work with painted cardboard to cover up the noise made by chipping the cement and banging at the walls. Morris played an accordion loudly. During that time, prison authority allowed inmates to have an hour of music every day in their cell. On the night of June 11, 1962, with all preparations in place, the men made their escape. When the lights finally went out, they put up their fake dummies and began to go through the holes. From the utility corridor behind their cells, which was unguarded, Frank, John, and Clarence climbed the ventilation shaft to the roof. They descended 50 feet to the ground by sliding down a kitchen vent pipe, then climbed 12-foot barbed wire perimeter fences. However, the Allen escape did not go as planned. The cement he had used to reinforce his vent had hardened. By the time he managed to re-widen the hole and remove the grill, the others had left without him. He returned to his cell and sleep. Clarence Anglin, John Anglin, and Frank Lee Morris were never seen again after that day. They went out to the sea on their makeshift raft at around 11:30 p.m. The prison authorities only noticed that they were missing the following morning. All the inmates woke up to the sound of blaring sirens. They were confused because they did not think anyone would try to escape. They all thought it was impossible, but they later found out that 3 men managed to do the impossible. The prison authorities searched the bay thoroughly, but did not recover any bodies. However, they did find personal items floating in the water the next day. A month after the escape, they found a body around 17 miles from the Golden Gate Bridge. The body was dressed in clothes similar to the prison uniforms in Alcatraz. However, the filing of the report took some time, and the body was not recovered. In 2014, researchers analyzed the flow of the currents the night of the escape. Their findings revealed that, if they sailed out by midnight, there was a good chance they would have made it to the shore and survived. Investigation by FBI agents surmised early on that the men had drowned. It was theoretically possible for the men to have reached Angel Island. The odds of their having survived the turbulent currents and frigid waters of the bay were negligible. However, no human remains were found at the time. The final FBI report also revealed Alan West said that Frank, John, and Clarence had planned to steal clothes and a car upon reaching land, but no such thefts were reported in the immediate area. Alan West was fully cooperated with the investigation, and therefore was not charged for his role. Alcatraz was closed on Mach 21, 1963, because 50 years of saltwater saturation had severely eroded the buildings. Alan West was transferred to other prisons. He was released and re-arrested again, with several multiple sentences, including life imprisonment on the murder conviction. He died of acute peritonitis on December 21, 1978, in Gainesville, Florida. The FBI closed its file on December 31, 1979, after a 17-year of investigation. Their official finding was that Frank, John, and Clarence most likely drowned in the cold water of the San Francisco Bay during their escape on the night of June 11, 1962. The FBI did hand their evidence over to the U.S. Marshals Service, whose investigation remains open. However, since the day of their escape, there were rumors that Frank and the Anglin brothers are still alive. Family members of the Anglin brothers claimed they had received postcards and messages over the years from John and Clarence. Several people also reported that 3 have seen them, but the FBI investigation found no direct evidence to their existence. But in January 2018, the famous Alcatraz escape made its way to the headlines once again. The FBI announced its plan to reopen the case after receiving this new evidence. In 2013, the San Francisco Police Department received a letter from a man calling himself John Anglin. The letter starts off, "My name is John Anglin. I escaped from Alcatraz in June 1962 with my brother Clarence and Frank Morris. I'm 83 years old and in bad shape. I have cancer. Yes, we all made it that night. Frank passed away in October 2008. His grave is in Argentina under another name. My brother died in 2011. The letter that was supposedly written by John Anglin revealed where they had been all this time. Where was he now, and why did he write this letter? Could it really be from John Anglin? At the end of the letter, the person offered the authorities a deal. Until to this day, there is no definitive confirmation whether John Anglin, Clarence Anglin, and Frank Lee Miller made it out of the rock alive. Law enforcement never revealed more details about the letter. If the escapees are still alive, John Anglin would be 86 years old, Clarence Anglin 87 years old, and Frank Morris 90 years old. Even though they would be old men now, their case file remains open and active. Morris and the Anglin brothers will remain on FBI's wanted fugitives and will be held accountable until they reach 99 years old.